Okay, so then, I love this, the way this narrative is constructed. Oh, first of all, he says, in my Father's house are many mansions in the King James, not necessarily imposing houses, dwelling places, yes, not necessarily castles, but in my Father's house, I would put the word household there. In my Father's household, there are many positions. Dwelling places if you like. I believe you're going to live in a house in the kingdom. That's fine. The house is also the temple in Jerusalem, but it's also household. And you are the household of God. And in that kingdom, you're going to have a position. And why am I going there? Because he says, he talks in the next verse about preparation, doesn't he? Probably the translation should be something like this. If it were not so, would I have told you that I'm going to prepare a place for you? That may be right. It's a little bit difficult in the Greek. But if it were not so, about the mansions and the house and the positions, would I have told you that I'm going to prepare a place for you? I think a position. Why do I say that? Because all of these preparation verses in the New Testament are about what you do in the future, are they not? You want to hover verses, let me give you then 1 Corinthians 2:9. But all the things of the future have been prepared. And people stop there. The next verse says, God has revealed these things to us through the Spirit, I see. But that's preparation for the glory of the future. What about Matthew 20:23? What is it prepared? It's planning for the future. In my Father's household, there are many dwelling places, many positions, I think, is the sense here. And I'm going to prepare a place for you. Get it ready for you. I'm going to plan it and prepare it. So I won't turn to all these verses, but you know, he says to the man who has developed his talent, the man or woman who has developed his talent, well done. You're done good, he'll say to the Georgians. You're done good. Get up there and govern 5 cities. Some people say, oh, no, thank you. Wait a minute. If God wants to use your talent to govern 10 cities, let God use your talent. This is a sort of false modesty in Christianity. Well, if I could just hold the door for 1,000 years old. No. You're not going to do that. That's, I just quoted you Luke 19:17, if you're writing verses down, Luke 19:17. So, I'm going to prepare a place, and if I prepare a place for you, how come the Greek says, and your NASB is much better here, if I go and prepare this place, this topos, this place for you guys, I'm coming again. Oh, I didn't get that in her translation. Erchome palin, I'm coming again. Do you get it? Now, if he's coming again, guess where he's going to be? On the earth. So that you can be with me where I am, that's to say, where I will be when I come back. That's clear now. Did you see what her translation did? Got rid of the second coming. There are people out there who think the second coming was in 70 AD. I mean, these are passionate people, they're good people. And it's the very, very difficult thing to dislodge that. They have so little understanding of the gospel of the kingdom, they think that Christ came back in 70 AD and that you are ruling the world now, all of you guys. But that is very clear in the Greek there. I'm coming again. Erchome is come. Palin is again. You know the word palindrome? That's a word that goes in 2 directions, right? A palindrome is a word that goes that way and the same word goes that way. It's a palindrome. It goes again. It repeats. So palin in Greek is again, and erchome is to come. I'm coming again. What has that done? It's destroyed the second coming. Period. It now becomes the second drive-through. Jesus has a one-way ticket, according to the Bible, not a two-way ticket. You're going up to meet him, escort the royal visitor. That's exactly what you do in the Bible. When Paul was approaching Rome, the believers went out. Hey, Paul, come this way. With royal visitors, even the bridegroom is coming, they say. And the virgins all get ready to go. Let's go out and meet the bride. And bring him in the direction in which he is going, right? So if you say, we're all going up to heaven here for the heavenly mansions, but can you imagine heavenly mansions for this? As well, God is designing that future Jerusalem on the earth, and Abraham lived in a place, and that place is called the land of the promise. That's the promised land. He lived in the promised land. Did he live in heaven? As Stephen said, I'm in Acts 7. Listen, brothers and sisters, The God of glory appeared to our father Abraham, our spiritual father Abraham, and our physical father in this case, when he was in Mesopotamia, before he lived in Haran, and said to him, leave your country, and leave your relatives, and come into the land which I'm going to show you. Then he left the land of the Chaldeans, that's Babylon, and settled in Haran. From Haran, after his father died, God had caused him to move house to this country in which you are now living, which was heaven. Is that right? I don't think so. This country in which you, my audience, are now living. But God gave Abraham no inheritance in it. Not even a square foot. And yet, even when he had no child, he promised that he would give it, the land in which he was living, in which they were living, he would give it to Abraham forever. You got it? That'll startle your friends. They've never heard this. So clearly the promised land is on earth. And if Jesus doesn't come back and stay on the earth, but don't forget that in Matthew 19:28, Jesus had said to them all at the Lord's Supper, you who have followed me, you're going to sit on thrones to rule over the 12 tribes gathered in the land. They didn't think that was heaven. So it's all fairly clear. We've been so drugged by the Church of England, in my case, we just didn't get this. You can also read in Scripture that the promise was received when Israel went into the land. It was. But that's not the end of it. Got it? Don't forget, the Hebrew mind thinks broadly, it thinks in totalities, and we split everything into compartments. So yes, he received the promise of the seed right there. He lived to see the birth of his son. Israel actually received the promise when they were in the land, but it's not the end of the story. He embraced the promise without actually receiving it. He actually did receive it. It doesn't matter. They'd all be true. Everything would be true here. He got the son right then. He also embraced the promise. That's a good idea. The clinching text is really Acts 7, isn't it? God did not give Abraham a square foot of the inheritance, but he promised that he would give it to Abraham and his seed forever. End of story. Isn't that wonderful? The rest you work in with that. All of these people, including Abraham and Enoch and Elijah, they all died not having received the promise, so that we can all get it together. See how long it's taken us to do that one point, by the way. Paul preached this kingdom from dawn till dusk, and this wasn't time. I was telling a colleague in the Church of God, the 15-minute sermon is not going to do it. You cannot do this in 15 minutes. You can do a smattering of stuff. I'm prepared a place for you, and then I'm going to come again so that you can be with me. So where are you going to be when Jesus comes? Let's go to 1 Thessalonians 4. So wonderful. Let's start with 13. Always my eye leaps ahead a couple of verses. 4:13. But we don't want you to be awful knowledge. We don't want you to be ignorant without knowledge, because my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, twice in the Bible, 40 times in Proverbs, knowledge. We want you to know this, brothers and sisters, about those who are now sleeping. There's a sleep of death. So that you will not grieve over Christians who died, as the rest who have no hope. Meaning that at present, at least, they don't have any hope. But you don't use that verse to show, that God can do what he wants in the second resurrection of people. That's not the point here. But currently, they don't have this hope, the unbelievers. For if we believe, as we do, that Jesus died and rose, went down and went up, right? In that order? He died and rose again. In the same way, God will bring to life with him, the NEB makes it clearer there, will bring to life with Jesus, or if you like, bring them from the heaven as they escort him down. He's going to explain that right now. You can do it that way too. You're going to see, how does Jesus bring the faithful with him? The ones who have now fallen asleep. Well, let me unpack it. 4. This is the way, this is what I say to you by the word of Jesus, by the word of the Lord. That we who are alive, and Paul includes himself here. Does that mean he thought he would be living? Not necessarily, no. Corporate we, all the Christians, whoever they will be, including Paul, and remain until the coming of the Lord, parousia, 24 times, always the future coming of Christ. remain till the coming of the Lord, will not have any advantage over, will not precede those who have fallen asleep and are asleep in death. I get it. Now, keep in mind the question, how does Jesus bring these people with him? Let's see. The Lord himself will descend from heaven, coming down, with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, hardly suggesting that he is the archangel, but that's what 7 million Jehovah's Witnesses are preaching as we speak, accompanied by then a trumpet and the voice of an archangel, and the dead, those who are sleeping, will rise first. And immediately then, we who are alive, surviving till then, and remain, will be raptured. There's the word rapture. There's no noun rapture in the Bible, only this one verb. Will be caught up to meet, caught up with them, all in one company, in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. And this is how we'll always be with the Lord. Isn't that interesting? That's how Jesus can bring them with him, you see? Having raised them, along with the survivors, they all got to meet the Lord, and he then brings them to the earth to rule on the earth. Otherwise, the whole of the gospel of the kingdom is shot. And on that line, let me read you from Dr. James Kennedy, not now living. Dr. James Kennedy, this will be our preamble into the rest of John 14. He wrote this. Listen carefully.
Is that D. James?
D. James Kennedy, no. A Lutheran. All right. Who's speaking here? Jesus or somebody not Jesus, do you think? You figure it out. Many people today think that the essence of Christianity is Jesus' teaching. But that is not so. Christianity centers not in the teachings of Jesus, but in the person of Jesus. As incarnate God, the God who came into the world to take upon himself our guilt and die in our place. From an article called How I Know Jesus is God. This man is very famous. Huge numbers of Lutherans bowing and scraping. And he's saying the very opposite, you're going to see, the very opposite of what Jesus said. Could there be a false prophet? You have to think about it.